Welcome to week 3 of our Advent journey. No, honest question, but no judgment. How are we doing on the readings? Listen, if you are a few days behind, no worries. Now's a great time to get caught up. They should be in your email from previous weeks, or they will also be on our Instagram page at cohesion_CLT. Just for a quick review, the first week we saw that the Old Testament is the hope in Jesus concealed. Last week, we honed in on Isaiah 7 and Matthew chapter 1 to remind ourselves that in the Old Testament, there is peace in that Jesus is God's plan concealed. And in the New Testament, we find peace in God's protection and promises that brought Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us, revealed. Now, for this third week, let's zero in on the joy that comes from our hope in God and the peace we find in Jesus. Now, remember our original saying as we jump into week 3 from St. Augustine. The new is in the old concealed and the old is in the new revealed. This points to the many occurrences that the character of God we see in the New Testament mirrors the character of God we see in the Old Testament. This week is no exception. Birthing children in the ancient world was a grace that women longed for because this often determined their worth. Hannah was 120 years old and the childless sister wife of a distasteful woman named Peninnah. Hannah's husband loved her and favored her, but it didn't matter because Peninnah and probably her status as a childless woman tormented her. Hannah prayed consistently, so fervently that she was caught in the temple praying so intensely that her lips were moving, but there were no words coming out. And during that season of praying earnestly, crying out to God, she was barren the entire time of her younger years. During the time of her life where it would have made sense for her to give birth to a child, she actually did not. When she was 120 years old, she wound up giving birth to a son named Samuel. And in her thanks, we see Hannah's prayer in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. It reads like this. Hannah prayed and said, "My heart exults in the Lord. My strength is exalted in my God. My mouth derides my enemies because I rejoice in your victory. There is no holy one like the Lord. No one besides you. There is no rock like our God. Talk no more. Say very proudly. Let not arrogance come from your mouth, for the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty are broken, but the feeble gird in strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, but those who were hungry are fat with spoil. The barren has borne 7, but she who has many children is forlorn. The Lord kills and brings to life. He brings down to Sheol and raises up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low. He also exalts. He raises up the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the ash heap to make them sit with princes and inherit a seat of honor. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and on them he has set the world. He will guard the feet of the faithful ones, but the wicked will perish in darkness. For not by might does one prevail. The Lord, his adversaries, will be shattered. The Most High will thunder in heaven. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the power of his anointed. Now, while Hannah's miracle was because she was too old, we see Mary has a miracle in the New Testament, but she was way too young and, let's just say, inexperienced. However, when Mary experiences this miraculous pregnancy, she does not lean into how she will explain it. She took joy in finding favor with the Spirit of God that did it. Mary gives her song in the first chapter of Luke, verses 46 through 55. And Mary says it like this. My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the lowly state of his servant. Surely from now on, all generations will call me blessed. For the mighty one has done great things for me, and holy is his name. Indeed, his mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has come to the aid of his child Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever. See, Hannah was too old in the world's view, and Mary, biologically, she was too young. And yet they both had joy because of what God was doing through their lives. As you go about this week and read through the other days of devotionals, we want you to remember that one, you can have joy in the Lord's favor, even when the circumstances that surround that favor look unfavorable. You can have joy in the Lord's mercy, knowing that he might just be using you to keep back the consequences of somebody else's actions. God's mercy doesn't always work through the person who needs it. Sometimes it works through the person who is willing to carry it out. And thirdly, you can have joy in the Lord's judgment. The Lord's judgment is always right. He does not live in time and space. He is not moved by biological clocks, the sun rising and falling, or the clocks that we have on the wall, or the Apple Watches we wear on our wrist. God's judgment, God's timing, God's ways are always perfect. And if he said a thing is going to happen, you can believe and find joy in the fact that it is going to happen. The Old Testament is the joy concealed even in hard times. The New Testament is God's joy seen through unfavorable times. Have a great week.